Uncharted is certainly Sony's flagship franchise for its PlayStation console, but after last year's superb final chapter Uncharted 4, many folks thought the series would probably not continue, especially after the perfect ending they gave Nathan Drake. But here we are, a little over a year after Uncharted 4 was released, and we've got a new entry in the franchise. With a new lead, can Uncharted continue without its main man? Let's find out. Originally intended as DLC for Uncharted 4, the game proved much bigger than they intended it to be, so it was turned into a standalone expansion. But to call this an expansion would be a huge disservice to it, as The Lost Legacy is easily as long as one of the main titles, taking anywhere from 6 hours if you rush it, all the way up to 10 if you take your time. The Lost Legacy offers a really good amount of content for the price. As for the story, the game is set in India and sees Chloe, a fan favourite from Uncharted 2 and 3, who was unfortunately absent from 4, and Nadine Ross, the gun for hire from Uncharted 4, as they try to find the fabled Tusk of Ganesh. Obviously, the Tusk won't be easy, as a local warlord called Asav has other plans for it, and he will prove to be a much bigger obstacle than anything else in the game. The story is a highlight, as the mix of real-world mythology and fiction is really absorbing. Those who worried that Uncharted wouldn't feel like Uncharted without Nathan Drake shouldn't worry, as Chloe is a fantastic lead, as is her partner, Uncharted 4's former Shoreline leader Nadine, who was bitterly underused in that game, but here she does fulfill her potential. The pairing of Nadine and Chloe was intriguing when the game was first revealed, making me wonder would there be a good dynamic between the duo, but the two are a fantastic match that share plenty of banter between each other, and I hope we see more of them in the future. As for the gameplay, the game feels very much like a greatest hits collection of the series' gameplay tropes, but a few little surprises of its own. Most of the levels do play out like your typical Uncharted level. There's plenty of climbing, shooting and over-the-top action set pieces, but the biggest surprise of the game is in Chapter 4. See, in Chapter 4, the game takes you to a big open area called the Western Ghats, and the game lets you loose in the world to explore at your wish. And the area is very sizable, and you can drive around the area with a very familiar 4x4. The chapter also holds the series' first ever side quest, which sees Chloe and Nadine travelling around trying to find 11 Hoysala tokens. This quest is actually a pretty fun little distraction that will certainly add a few hours to the runtime, and the reward is a nice incentive to find them all. The game also has many different enemy camps to dispatch along the way in this chapter, as well as the main objectives, and to be honest, this chapter feels very much like Metal Gear Solid 5 on a much smaller scale, very much like Ground Zeroes if you will. For those who just want to play through the game, this chapter may just sound like a slog for you, but don't worry, all these side activities and camps can be largely ignored if you just want to favour the story, which is fine. And strangely enough, The Lost Legacy feels like it has a much more well-rounded story than Uncharted 4 ever had. See, Uncharted 4 was amazing in that, but it did feel like the game did have a fair bit of filler and padding into it. But this isn't the case with The Lost Legacy, as its shorter runtime makes for a much more consistent and brisk experience. A nice little inclusion is a pretty decent amount of puzzles in the game to solve, from puzzles where you have to jump to avoid being attacked from the statue's axe, to a fun little shadow puzzle. They're all challenging and a great distraction from the shooting and climbing. As with all Uncharted games, there's a load of collectibles and trinkets to nab here, from 60 odd collectibles to optional conversations, taking photographs with Chloe's smartphone, and unlocking various supply crates, which you unlock with Chloe's new simple but rather effective lock-picking ability. There's a decent amount of stuff here to find, and will add a fair few hours to your runtime. Presentation-wise, the game looks even more impressive than Uncharted 4, and this is surprising considering the huge level of detail that went into that game. From the first chapter in the busy Indian marketplace to the final action-packed chapter, everything looks astounding, with loads of detail, great lighting work and some impeccably detailed character models. I did however notice a few graphical glitches, but nothing game-breaking, but expect these to be fixed ASAP, as Naughty Dog doesn't normally leave these things in. Oh, and before I get to the conclusion, Naughty Dog included a nice little extra with the game. The Uncharted 4 multiplayer and survival mode is included with the game for free. Both the multiplayer and survival are still as fun as they were in Uncharted 4, and they've also included some new Lost Legacy content for the multiplayer, which is nice. Conclusion time now, and The Lost Legacy is an absolutely astounding game, and it amazes me how this was made in less than a year. The Lost Legacy delivers a short but thrilling adventure that not only includes a huge mix of gameplay types, but also gives two of its more mysterious characters more screen time to make it one of the best adventures in the series. Add in the fact the game is a budget release, and it also includes the Uncharted 4 multiplayer and survival mode, and The Lost Legacy is an absolute bargain for the price, and for that reason, Uncharted The Lost Legacy gets a 9.5 out of 10 with a title of amazing. Thank you for watching my review, like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming. Bye!